right, my friend, I have your soup for you.
Jennifer Burns is a 38-year-old waitress and occasional actress. Vincent Falk is a 60-year-old, legally blind, retired Cook County employee who spends a lot of time these days doing this. Like many Loop dwellers, Jennifer had seen Vincent around town, but it wasn't until she spotted him from her Riverview perch at the Smith & Wolenski Steakhouse that her curiosity was piqued.
The first time I saw it, I thought, what is he doing? And the more I saw him, the more excited I began to feel to see him. And, you know, I start looking for him, wondering what he was going to wear. And I suddenly realized that, you know, the guy who I once thought was just some weirdo on the street, I was now looking forward to seeing.
As Vincent continued his wild dance moves over the Chicago River, Jennifer became curious to learn his backstory.
I just thought to myself, I want to know how he got to this point in his life. You know, someone should make a documentary about this guy. I mean, that was the actual thought I had in my head. And I just kind of went about, you know, polishing glasses or doing whatever I was doing. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. I should make a documentary about this guy.
Only problem was that Jennifer had acted in some student films, but knew nothing about actually making one. She also didn't know whether the guy with the flashy suits had a story worth telling. After meeting with Vincent, she learned he had quite a story. As far as her inexperience as a filmmaker, a professional told her to just find a good camera person and get going.
In a city like this, there are always characters, and I don't think we always realize that we're doing it, but we create stories for them. You know, the characters that we see every day, we create little stories for them. And I was dead certain I was right about Vince. I knew who he was, you know, and I was completely wrong.
And who did you think he was?
I thought he was this lonely guy who lived with his mother his whole life, and then when his mom passed away, he decided to get himself out onto the State Street Bridge and start doing shows for the world, because now he had broken free of this relationship, and that was totally wrong, you know.
With only her credit cards to pay for the production, Jennifer began her film 5 years ago, completing it in late 2008. But it's only now that Vincent, A Life in Color, is starting to get a lot of attention. The film primarily centers around a year in Vincent's life and the gimmick he's made his own, performing in brightly colored suits for tour boats as they pass under downtown bridges. He's also frequently spotted in the background of local newscasts, and if you ever stop to talk to him, you'll learn his conversation is peppered with a seemingly endless stream of puns.
And our bartenders?
They just get mixed up in their work.
There you go, they get mixed up in their work.
But Jennifer discovered that the man some passersby might consider unstable made something of himself against the odds. To begin with, Vincent has had glaucoma since birth. It's left him with only limited vision in one eye.
With one eye and with decreased vision and with a constricted field, the world that he sees is very different from the world that you and I see.
The film goes on to tell of Vincent being abandoned by his birth parents, growing up in an orphanage, being adopted, and eventually making his way into the aeronautical engineering program at IIT. For 20 years, Vince made his living as a computer programmer for Cook County. And Jennifer uncovered other surprises about Vince.
We were driving around one day, and he was saying something about I don't know what, and all of a sudden he said, well, that was back when I was a DJ. And I said, when were you a DJ? You know, and it turns out he was a disco DJ in the 70s.
So far, Vince and Jennifer's documentary has played 8 small film festivals across the country and 1 in Estonia. But the film is finally coming home to Chicago. No less a reviewer than Roger Ebert has given it an enthusiastic thumbs up, and the legendary critic has chosen it to play at his Ebert Fest this coming weekend. No surprise that the attention-loving Vince is relishing the notoriety.
I enjoyed the process a lot, and especially now I'm enjoying the process of it being played on the screen and watching the people react. They like the film. I always wear, of course, I always wear my suits every day that we're there for the festival, and people both in the theater and outside out in the streets get a kick out of seeing me in my suits, and I do toss out my spin moves wherever I get a chance to do so.
While Jennifer Burns' dream project is finally getting recognition, her production costs have not yet been paid off. They're all on her maxed-out credit cards.
For a person who waits tables for a living, you know, we're in the neighborhood of $30,000. And that doesn't include my deferred payment agreements.
Incidentally, despite Vincent's vision impairment, he knows exactly what his suits look like, and it might come as a surprise to some that he buys them off the rack in the South Loop. And even though the film has made him something of a star, Vince says he'll continue performing live this coming tourist season and thinking up more groan-inducing punny jokes.
Let's say the technicians at a nuclear power plant are allowed to sleep in the building between shifts. Well, then the supervisor would come in and tell them it's time to be up and at 'em.
Ba-dum-bum.
For Chicago Tonight, I'm Eddie Arruza.